Hello, this is your evening news from our Vox Africa studio in London. I am Pamela Bonkyong. Let's have a peek at today's major stories. A Kenyan politician stands charged for inciting violence that engulfed the southeast of the country, leaving over 100 people dead. What is it about this film, The Innocence of Muslims, that has sparked such outrage in the Arab world? We'll find out in a few moments. The origins of the French Alps shooting is believed to be in the UK, says the French prosecutor investigating the case. A Kenyan politician has been charged with inciting violence, which led to the death of over 100 people killed in the southeast Tana River rivalry between the Orma and the Pokomo tribes. Assistant Livestock Minister MP Dado Godana denied the charge in an appearance in court. Mr. Godana was released on bail after his appearance at a court in Nairobi, the country's capital. In the meantime, Kenyan Parliament has asked the government to deploy the army to stop the fighting. The President Mwai Kibaki, during a military police unit graduation celebration in Nairobi last Wednesday, said extra security forces had been mobilized to act against the senseless loss of lives. Morgan Shangirai emerged today victorious from court and can go ahead to marry his fiancée Elizabeth Macheka. A High Court judge in Harare threw out a bid by Locadia Tembo, who argued she was Mr. Shangirai's wife under customary law, and therefore he could not marry Ms. Macheka. Judge Antonia Govava ruled that such a marriage was not valid except for certain purposes such as matrimonial property. Ms. Tembo, a commodity trader, has been demanding $15,000 a month in maintenance expenses from the Prime Minister. However, there are reports which came to light in November last year that Ms. Tembo and Mr. Shangirai had held a traditional wedding and Mr. Shangirai had paid a bride price of several $1,000s. A craft handed down through generations for thousands of years have been embodied in pottery art in Ushafa village, located along the main road to Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. Pots made in Ushafa are popular in Nigeria, and the clay is of the highest quality. Visitors have a wide range of designs to choose from. The locality also has a center where clay is broken, mixed and molded into unique ceramic products. This craft has proven a lucrative source of income for women in the community. The Ushafa Pottery Center fuses Western and African techniques. It also trains potters and helps them in marketing their products. Nigerian pottery ranks among the most artistic in the world, and pots are used for cooking, storage and decor. Let's hear more from Abuja residents, traders and the potters themselves.
The pot is something that is of our own, that is a local thing, and it's common. It's the African pot. That's why I love to buy it. It's not an imported pot, it's made here, and it's for us.
Some women, they come from Lagos, Port Harcourt, come and buy it. And at this pot, now they help us with our children. No any business among of this one. Our grandchildren, I then live, a grandmother, I then live all these things, this business for us. So now they help us. We don't get any business about this one.
Formerly in Ushafa, they only do traditional pottery, that is the women. But later, the modern pottery is introduced into it. And also, why they set up the place is because the women formerly, they are making the pot in their houses. And now, they now bring them together so that the skill will not just go away.
A new UNICEF report says countries across the world are making rapid progress in reducing child deaths. Roberto Kandu has more on the story.
A new UNICEF report entitled Progress Report on Committing to Child Survival, A Promise Renewed, estimates that the number of children under the age of 5 dying globally fell from nearly 12 million in 1990 to an estimated 6.9 million in 2011. Global commitment to this aim was galvanized in June of this year at Child Survival, a Call to Action, an international conference in Washington, D.C. Since June this year, over half of the world's countries have pledged to accelerate action on child survival. Ian Pett, UNICEF's Chief of Health, says there have been huge gains in reducing child mortality in many low-income countries in sub-Saharan Africa, but also in middle-income countries elsewhere around the world.
No matter what your challenge is, that progress can be made with good policies and commitment to providing the health services that people really need.
The biggest killers of children include pneumonia and diarrhea. Malnutrition is another significant factor. It contributes to 1/3 of all child deaths. If these challenges are tackled successfully, broader issues like education, water supply, sanitation, and hygiene will also have to be addressed, and the most disadvantaged reached.
I think it's important that in all countries we continue to target the most vulnerable populations. Even in the most developed countries, there are significant inequities in health, and by concentrating our resources on ending those inequities, ensuring there are access to high quality health services, that there are no financial barriers or any other barriers to access, this is how we're going to achieve this.
While the global decline in under-5 mortality reflects the good work of governments, donors, agencies and families themselves, millions of children under 5 are still dying each year. It doesn't have to be that way. The world has the technology and know-how to save lives with vaccines, adequate nutrition and basic medical and maternal care. The challenge is to make these available to every child.
South Sudan now boasts of a brand new highway. The 192 kilometers long newly tarmacked Juba to Nimole road is expected to open up the young nation's underdeveloped interior and boost its struggling infrastructure. The road project was funded by U.S. aid and cost an estimated $225 million. South Sudan literally has no roads, and its economy is in tatters following decades of civil war with its northern neighbor Sudan. Most of South Sudan's imports currently arrive in Mombasa on the Kenya coast and then trucked via Uganda to Nimole. This trip lasts several weeks. A $4 billion project has been launched to build a 7,000-kilometer road network to lead Juba to Kenya. This should help the infant country, which is generally landlocked, in disagreements with Khartoum over how much it should pay to export crude oil through the north, to improve its trade prospects. Syrian refugees in the Turkish camp are unhappy that they were not able to meet with United Nations Special Refugee Envoy Angelina Jolie last Thursday. The refugees say they have been disappointed in the past by the United Nations and do not expect anything to come out of this visit. The United Nations is in the process of registering over 250,000 refugees who have escaped the 17-month-old conflict in 4 different neighboring countries. Turkey has the most, as it houses about 80,000 alone. Now, protests have spread from North Africa and Libya, Egypt and Tunisia to Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, over the anti-Islam film on Muhammad. Morsi, the Egyptian president, condemned the film and said it would not be tolerated by Islam. Most Muslims believe Muhammad should not be depicted in any form or shape and consider any such action blasphemous. The film, titled Innocence of Muslims, gained popularity after it was dubbed into Arabic and posted on YouTube. The film addressed issues of pedophilia and homosexuality. It also had scenes of Muhammad sleeping with women and talking about killing children. The U.S. embassy in Sana'a was stormed by angry protesters, and in the Iranian capital of Tehran, people stormed the Swiss embassy, which handles U.S. business. The United States is bracing itself for further attacks. Reports remain unclear as to who is the film's director. The veteran Algerian diplomat Lakhdar Brahimi arrived in Syria last Thursday to start talks with Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim. Brahimi, who is replacing Kofi Annan as the international mediator, is scheduled to meet with President Bashar al-Assad and discuss the conflict. According to a statement from Brahimi's office, he will meet with Syrian opposition and members of the civil society. The Syria uprising continues to divide global powers and has prevented effective action to be taken. Mohamed Morsi, the Egyptian president, has been able to secure pledges to the tune of 500 million euros during his first European trip since his election in June. José Manuel Barroso, the president of the European Commission, discussed the developments in diplomacy involving the U.S. consulate in Libya and the ongoing violence in Syria. Morsi's government, which is in dire need of funds following last year's revolution, is trying to rebuild unity and its shattered economy. Morsi has been quick to assure the United States that the attacks which happened in Benghazi will not be replicated in Egypt. Here is José Manuel Barroso, EU Commission President, and Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi himself.
We are ready to offer macro-financial assistance worth 500 million euros provided the agreement that Egypt is currently negotiating with IMF materializes. This agreement is an agreement we strongly support. And in addition, the European Union is also ready to consider a budget support operation of 150 to 200 million euros in support of an agreed economic recovery plan. We are also adamant that Assad should go. There is no more room for Assad in Syria. A president that kills his own people simply does not deserve to be president of a country. This is not acceptable. This is simply not acceptable, and we need a transition to inclusive democracy.
This is completely agreed upon.
This is completely
agreed upon. This is our common opinion, and this is our previous situation still and will be. This is completely agreed upon. There is no place for presidents who for a president who is killing his people.
Let me condemn in the most clear terms the attacks on the United States diplomatic installation that have caused the deaths of 4 people in Benghazi, namely the American ambassador. There can be no justification for violence and for the loss of innocent lives. We call on the Libyan authorities to take all necessary measures to ensure such events do not reoccur, and of course to protect the diplomatic missions.
The French and British police are still continuing the search at the Al-Hili home in Claygate, Surrey. The French police believe the shooting of Saeed Al-Hili and his dentist wife Iqbal, who was 47, and mother-in-law have their origins in the UK. Eric Mailou, the French prosecutor in charge of the case, was speaking outside the working police station. Let's hear more from the prosecutor himself, Eric Mailou.
This is a French-led investigation. Surrey Police and other agencies within Surrey will do all we can to support this investigation.
Nous sommes avec Monsieur Molin, donc les magistrats en charge.
Donc we are with Mr. Molin, the prosecutor in charge.
Notre présence ici ne signifie pas qu'il y a des problèmes entre les deux juridictions anglaises et françaises.
Our presence today doesn't mean that there are problems between the two jurisdictions, the French and the English one.
Mais au contraire, nous souhaitons renforcer la coopération et nous comprendre le mieux possible.
And on the contrary, we just want to stress and reinforce the cooperation and understand.
Dans l'espoir de parvenir le plus vite possible.
You know, with the hope to reach as soon as possible.
À la résolution de ces meurtres horribles.
Yeah, the resolution of this horrible murder.
Nous sommes parfaitement conscients.
We are completely conscious and aware.
Qu'Annecy n'est que le lieu fortuit de ce drame.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Qu'Annecy n'est que le lieu fortuit de ce drame.
That Annecy is only the unfortunate side for this drama.
Et que vraisemblablement l'origine, les causes et les explications sont ici chez vous.
And that without any doubt, the reason and the causes have their origin in this country.
Ça ne peut donc être qu'ensemble que nous réussirons à trouver les meurtriers, à les traduire en justice.
And it's only by being together that we'll be able to find the murderers in this case.
Angry employees of Crédit Immobilier de France, CIF, took to the streets of Paris earlier today to call for 2,500 jobs to be protected at the troubled French mortgage lender. They called on the company to be nationalized to reduce the risk of job cuts to pacify European Union regulators. CIF was thrown down the bench when it failed to secure a buyer earlier this year. The company has for months been seen as a liability to the French banking system after Moody, the credit rating agency, warned it could be exposed to into a major financing crunch due to its dependence on crisis-racked funding markets. Unemployment in France has reached record levels, and promises by Hollande's camp to guarantee CIF's debts and save it from a massive bankruptcy has been perceived as a bailout, which has not gone the full length. Let's get some reactions from Crédit Immobilier de France workers.
Le problème aujourd'hui pour l'adossement, c'est que nous tombons à une mauvaise période. Voilà.
The problem for the merger is that we are in a bad period. I want to say again that we are a viable company. We don't have any toxic assets. So in a way, we could represent a good deal for a bank. We have a good network. Our people know how to work and are serious, and there is no reason why we should not continue working.
First, we are an essential participant on the market of financing for low incomes, for social lodging. We finance social missions. We intervene in many situations that traditional banks are not able to finance. And we are here today because there are 2,500 jobs all over France which are likely to disappear. All this because of a downgrade which took place a few weeks ago by Moody's credit rating agency.
Now, more planned cuts as planned austerity cut measures by the Greek government has been met with intensified rounds of protest. A large group of psychiatrists demonstrated outside the health ministry, incensed by cuts to funding to psychiatric clinics and institutions at a time when they insist the services are much needed. The government is cracking down on disability benefits and has put a strict assessment process in place to ensure that recipients are genuinely disabled. Dairy farmers will also outside the finance ministry protesting rising costs and falling profits, which is threatening their livelihoods. We hear more from the representative of Pan-Hellenic Union for Psychiatric Rehabilitation, that is Menelaos Theodorakis.
We are living through the bankruptcy of mental health in this country. At a time when citizens more than ever need psychological support, the government has decided to cut funding of mental health by 50%. This will, in essence, result in the closing of mental health centers, because in the last 6 months of 2012, they have not had a single euro. This will mean that 3,000 workers in mental health and 1,600 mental health patients who live in centers will find themselves on the street.
The dispute over the small island chain in the East China Sea called Senkaku in Japanese and Diyu in Chinese have heated up this week. This followed an announcement by the Japanese government that it would buy the islands for a sum of $30 million from the Japanese private owners. The Chinese response has been to send ships to secure the area. Meanwhile, Chinese tourists are keeping away from Japan as they fear for their safety. Trade between the two countries have suffered, with the Nissan, the Japanese car maker, reporting slumps in sales of its cars in China. In a follow-up to the disputes, the Japanese Foreign Minister, Koichiro Gemba, has called for calm during this period. China's Vice Minister of Commerce, on his part, has issued a warning to Japan, emphasizing how much their trade will be affected should this dispute continue. The Guinness Book of Records has released its latest edition. In this version, we find new categories such as the biggest biceps from Egyptian-born Mustaf Ismail, the tallest dog as well called Zeus, and the shape is Mohican, and also the largest collection of drum kits. This edition is a 57th version and will be published in 22 languages and in over 100 countries. An application has also been created to accompany the book. Let's hear more from interested parties.
It was my boys who prompted me to really go for a Guinness World Record, because I've always had the biggest set, they thought, and I thought that too. But I've just come out of the drum closet, and now I have the largest drum set in the world.
I'm very excited to see my Barbie dolls and me in the Guinness World Record book. And it's great to show it to my family and to my friends.
Next year is gonna be like, I'm waiting to get like to 30 inches by next year. Like I wanna get my max. Plus I have like my dreams is like forever. Like I have my dreams, I said, till I die in the gym.
Guinness World Records is always evolving. Every year we're trying to look at anything we can to get kids to read books. And this year we found this amazing thing called augmented reality. It allows you to really interact with the pages and the record holders. You can see, for example, the world's shortest man, actual size, and have your photograph taken with him. You can pet the shortest dog. You can even see a parrot doing slam dunks. It is incredible.
Let's have a look again at today's major headlines. A Kenyan politician stands charged for inciting violence that engulfed the southeast of the country, leaving over 100 people dead. What is it about this film, The Innocence of Muslims, that has sparked such outrage in the Muslim world? Mohammed is certainly at the center of this controversy. The origins of the French Alps shooting is believed to be in the UK, says the French prosecutor investigating. Thank you for watching, and do visit our website www.voxafrica.co.uk/news for more updates. Have a good evening.